initiated.
Authorization required. Authorizing. Access granted.
Hi, this is Big Geek, and I'm Dan. Welcome back to the workshop. This time the workshop has landed in summertime, so time to make some comfortable chairs for the outside. I got myself some steel, I've got myself a workshop full of tools. Let's see what we can do. So, step one, design a chair, or, copy a design that you like the look of. I designed mine in Fusion 360, which let me lift some measurements when I needed to, and I can also print real-size plans out from it. The challenging part of this design is these loops at the bottom of the chair that need to be consistently bent, and this back piece which has got two angles to it that need to be consistent again. What's life without challenges? So, step two, make yourself a form, and I surrounded mine in a flexible piece of steel just to give it something to bend against that was strong enough. Then start bending. Well, I'm kidding. Obviously I used a lot of clamps to get this going, but first of all I mark the section that I think needs to bend and then go at it with an angle grinder. The technique I'm using here is to cut a series of slices along where I think the bend is going to be on the outside of the bend. If you do this in wood, you typically do it on the inside, but I found it was much easier to get what I needed cutting for the outside of the bend, not least because then when I later welded them closed and ground, used an angle grinder to fill that in again and make it smooth, that was way easier to do on the outside of a bend than on the inside. So yeah, having cut all of those slots, return to the form and use it to help me kind of achieve that consistent bend, clamping things down as I go. Now I'm on a movable platform here, which is kind of awkward for the bending, but it was very useful to be able to move things to where I had space to bend and then drag the whole thing across to where the welder is. So it was a bit awkward, but ultimately quite useful. Here I'm just trimming the ends to suit. So once you've done all of this bending, I say basically go in with a welder and fix all of those slots again. A lot of welding and a lot of grinding and a lot of repeating, and I had 4 of them. So then we got on to a little bit more straightforward welding some cross beams. I'm using my TIG welder here because I find that I'm much more confident of getting a very strong weld bond with the TIG welder. MIG welding can sometimes be a little, like it can look good but not really be good. Whereas with the TIG welder, I'm certain I'm getting a really strong bond, which I thought was pretty important for a chair. Then I set up various jigs for this to try and get consistency of these shapes, and I was sort of doing 2 chairs at the same time to try and make sure I kept everything as close to equivalent as possible. It was all about trying to set up jigs to be consistent where I could be, because obviously trying to make 2 that look the same, you really need to be able to do repeatable things. So here I am again cutting more slices into more steel. These are going to bend the back pieces. So another simple jig just with the radius I want. Line up the slices, clamp it in place, and bend away. may notice this was definitely the wrong way around to set up this F-clamp. It was very awkward. I think I switched it around shortly after this. There we go. Then, like a really strong man, I bend those pieces. This was another really awkward rig, but this is how I got that compound bend in the back. So I put a piece of wood underneath to create that little angle, clamped everything in place, and then I could just go in and weld. I think I tacked it closed with the MIG welder, and then I moved to the TIG welder to get the really strong bond. And then one last little jig for the arms, just a round screwed in so that I could bend around, and then I could use kind of the first one that I got vaguely okay to just line up and measure against to get all four the same. This was a really awkward setup to make, but again, trying to come up with something that would get me consistency. I kind of strapped a piece of wood across the seat area at a consistent offset from the front, and then another block of wood to create a height that let me kind of just balance the arm in place so I could tack it, and that got me where I needed to be. Oh yeah, this was me using the MIG welder just to fill in some of those curved areas. I did a lot of this outside because ventilation is key, and I was doing a lot of this, kept setting off the smoke alarm. And there we go, 2 pretty much finished forms. Important to test your work. Undercoat both of the frames in a primer and then paint it to black. And then on to the actual seat construction. This is using 2 types of paracord. Pretty much just, it's a fairly simple process. The awkward part is getting some of the spacing right, but it's fiddly in the sense that there's a lot of like back and forth, but this is sort of a loose net design. Just loop. Most of these strands are kind of double the length of the run you see, kind of looped over, so that at the back we loop over and through, and then just each kind of cross piece kind of loops around each strand. I don't know if that makes any sense at all, but it's a fairly simple process. Just took a while. And here is the awesome and talented Katchan making cushions for them. This is important to outsource the things that you're not good at to someone who is. One of these days I'd love to learn to run the sewing machine, but she's awesome at this, so to enjoy the fruits of our labours in the last tiny piece of sunshine of July. Feeling good about the teamwork. Thanks for watching. See you next time.